Here's my audience. Okay, so today I was talking to you all about random drug testing and employee privacy. In the 1960s, the United States first realized that drug use was a widespread problem. In the 1970s, the United States government began trying to address this issue. They brought in prevention education programs, rehab facilities, treatment centers, and training for staff so they knew how to work with people with drug abuse issues. In the 1970s, the military began to realize that there was an increase of heroin use among personnel coming back from Vietnam War. And because of this, they began to drug test the personnel, and they began treatment programs for these people. In 1986, the FRA, or the Federal Railroad Administration, put into place regulations and policies to drug test all railroad employees. And in 1986, Ronald Reagan began the war on drugs. He also put into place a drug-free workplace program, which made it so that all federal government agencies had to make a plan for achieving a drug-free workplace. So drug testing has been very common in the United States since the mid-1900s. So let me ask you this question. So long as employees are not coming into work under the influence and that their productivity is not being affected, is it really any business of the employer as to what employees are doing outside the workplace? Random drug testing infringes on the rights and privacy of employees for 3 reasons. First, the basic right to privacy. Second, drug testing is often unrelated to the jobs and tasks required to do a job. And 3, drug testing is notoriously unreliable and can produce inaccurate results. So, for the basic right to privacy, random drug testing violates a person's right to privacy. The Fourth Amendment prohibits unlawful search and seizure. This means that employers should not have the right to require employees to prove their innocence without any evidence or proof that they are using drugs. Drug testing should only take place when special societal needs outweigh an employee's privacy. So this means that if an employee is doing a job that could put other employees in danger, such as driving a semi or using heavy equipment or using guns of any sort, then this outweighs an employee's privacy and they should be drug tested. Lab procedures also invade privacy of employees. Urinalysis reveals not only the presence of illegal drugs, but also the existence of other physical and medical conditions. This means that it shows genetic predisposition disease and can also show pregnancy. For my second point, random and routine drug testing is often unrelated to the tasks required to do the job. Many times, drug tests are incapable of measuring the actual impairment of the time of the drug sample. Drug tests only reveal that there was a drug ingested sometime in the past. Even if an employee has ingested a drug in the past, at a time when it's not affecting job performance, it can show up in a drug test, which means if an employee takes a drug 24 hours to a week prior to a drug test, it may still show up, even though it's not impairing the employee or doing anything with their productivity. As I just said, drug tests do not distinguish when the drug was ingested, and it also doesn't show the difference between occasional or habitual use. So for my third point, drug tests are notoriously unreliable and can produce inaccurate results. Faulty lab equipment or procedures, sloppy work by an ill-trained technician, and even inaccurate screening detections can produce false positives. Poppy seeds can show positive results for opioid use. Cold medications can show positives for amphetamine abuse. And the HIV medications so Steve can show positive for marijuana use. 1,000 out of every 100,000 samples taken can give inaccurate results. Drug tests generally produce false positives for between 5 to 10% of all cases, and false negatives for between 10 to 15% of all cases. Methadone, Oxycontin, and Suboxone are notorious for false negatives. This just shows the unreliability of drug testing. Model employees who may have never touched any illegal substance in their life are getting their jobs taken away and losing promotions because of false positives. Sometimes drug tests fail to distinguish between legal and illegal drugs. So as you can see, controlling and monitoring employee drug abuse infringes on the rights and privacy of employees. It often leads to unrelated searches and can many times be unreliable. Monitoring employees should only be done when there is reasonable suspicion or when there is special societal need that outweighs an employee's privacy interest. Random drug tests are often unrelated to the tasks required to do the job and do not measure the actual impairment of the employee at the time that the sample is taken. So as you can see, random drug tests are important, however, should only be used when there is reasonable suspicion. If there is not any reasonable suspicion, then random drug testing is infringing on the rights and privacy of employees. And it's creating unnecessary issues for already productive employees. Thank you. Here's my audience again.